Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Prepping by Faith, and I wanted to touch on a news story with you guys that I think is pretty important that we need to have more coverage on. And comes to us from Zero Hedge. It says, "Get the H out of there. Ohio's apocalyptic chemical disaster rages on." And I know that a lot of us have been focused on these balloons and things that are floating around. And I'm not saying that those aren't equally as important, but I do want to touch on this story because I think that it is being brushed under the rug. And I think it's stories like these that we really need to be aware of, that we really need to be paying attention to, because the way I see it, this is another disaster that could have long term effects on our food supply and on our water supply. So let's go ahead and get into this. So it says, while the US government is dispensing millions of dollars in resources to treat balloons as an existential crisis, a small town in Ohio finds itself engulfed in what looks like the actual apocalypse. So it says, perhaps by design, all of the drama surrounding violations of US airspace by Chinese spy initiatives has done well to keep what is becoming one of the worst environmental disasters in recent memory from getting any headlines. So the chaos began early last week when a train of more than 100 cars derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, near the state's border with Pennsylvania, with roughly 5,000 residents. The accident launched 50 of those 100 freight cars from the tracks. 20 of the freight cars on the train were carrying hazardous materials, 10 of which were detailed. While the accident had no fatalities, of those 10 cars, 5 contained pressurized vinyl chloride, a highly flammable carcinogenic gas. So the way that they have handled this is just gross negligence. In my opinion, the Ohio Emergency Management Agency executed its plan of actually venting this toxic gas, and they said they did so that it would be more of a controlled burn, and they didn't have an explosion on their hands. But I find that there should have been another way for them to address it. There is no way that you're going to have to vent this highly toxic cocktail out into the atmosphere and you think that that is the only solution or the best solution when handling this situation. So the other thing, and they have said, is that within the last couple of hours a drastic temperature change has taken place in a rail car, and there is now a potential of a catastrophic tanker failure which could cause an explosion with the potential of deadly shrapnel to travel up to a mile. And this is coming from their governor, Mike DeWine, there, that he has stated this. So in the initial, when the initial tragedy had taken place, the initial disaster, they had forced an evacuation and shelter in place orders within a 1 mile radius of where the train derailed. But then they went ahead and lifted those on February 8th, allowing the residents to return back to the area adjacent to the disaster, which is just, there's over 2,000 residents there in that area, and they've allowed them back in near this nasty cocktail of chemicals that are pluming out. One of which they say is actually linked to this phosgene gas, is so potent that it was previously used as a chemical weapon during the First World War. They know all of this, guys. They actually have the EPA involved in this as well, so they are aware of what's going on. Everybody is sort of addressing this as a nothing to see here situation. This James Justice of the EPA actually summed up his agency's position by saying, "So far, so good, and we're going to continue to monitor it until the fire's out." Guys, this is not something that they can just monitor. This is creating this gas that can cause cancers. It's actually causing a lot of animals to die. There is a fox farm there that's within, I believe they said 15 miles or so from this area. He's having a lot of his foxes die. Somebody actually had their pet go out to the bathroom and it died. There's a lot of talk about all these other animals that are coming up dead, from chickens to fish and other animals in the area that are coming up dead. And this is all within a 15-mile radius of this area. So this stuff has spilled into the Ohio River toward West Virginia. It's gotten into the soil. This is a really big tragedy. This is something that is going to need to be addressed. And it's sort of the way they're handling this is a nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. We've got it under cover. We're good to go here. Don't worry. Erin Brockovich, guys, if you remember who she is, actually tweeted out, "I'm trying to gather information on this very serious situation in Ohio involving a train derailment with hazardous chemicals. What I will say is this: trust your eyes, ears, and nose and get the H out of there if your senses are telling you to." I agree with her. river. And that's exactly the information that they should have been given. Get out of there. Don't be anywhere near that. And they should have evacuated more than just a mile's radius. This should have been evacuated a good 20, 30 miles out. Nobody should be in this area with this stuff going in. This stuff goes up into the air and it travels in the air. It's going to get pushed out to a wider distance. And it's obviously going to get into the soil, and it's gotten into the river. And this is going to impact, the ability to grow food and everything in this area. This is part of our farmland area, guys. This is another attack on our food supply. It's another attack on our people. And, they don't seem to care. These federal agencies don't care. The state doesn't care. They're not doing anything to manage this. And I think this is really a big deal. Imagine being these people and not even knowing, if you can ever really, you're really going to be safe when you go back home because of this, because they really didn't handle it appropriately, because all of these chemicals have gone out into the atmosphere in your area. And then imagine if you want to try to sell your home and everybody knows about, this disaster, the word gets out. You're not going to get anything for your home. You're going to be, left in the lurch. And do you think that our government or that the state is going to care? No, they're not going to care. You know what they're worried about? The FBI is worried about, creating reports on, domestic teas of our, pre-Vatican II Catholics. That's what they're worried about. They're worried about all of the Christians and the conservatives that are considered violent, domestic teas and violent extremists. Well, the way I see it is you are the domestic teas. Look at what you have just done. Look at the crisis that you have just leveled on these people in this area and on American citizens, innocent American citizens. You are the ones attacking our food supply. You are the ones doing nothing. You guys sit here and preach all of your green energy initiatives, and then you allow something like this to take place and you don't even care about it. You just try to brush it under the rug and cover it up. Well, you know what? We're on to you. We see the truth. We know exactly what you're all about. We know about your greed and your power and your control and what it is that you want to do to us, the Americans. All you care about is your depopulation and your destruction and your immoral laws. That's all you care about. You don't care about the American people. You don't care about any of the people of the world. And we are seeing through this stuff, and we are going to keep screaming this stuff from the rooftops until the blinders fall off of all of the people in the world and they get the truth. They are able to see the truth. You're not going to be able to hide forever. That is my message to you. So if you guys have enjoyed this video today, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. Remember to lift these people in prayer, guys. Be praying for all these people that are impacted in this area. We need to cover them in prayer. They need to have a way of escape. We know that the Lord is bigger than all of these things, no matter how ugly it looks. He will make a way of escape. So let's go ahead and keep these people in our prayers. And God bless all of you today.